Hello everyone. We'll just give it a couple minutes for, firstly, Basil, who will be joining us today, just in a few moments, and also for the fellow community members who will also be joining and attending this AMA. So we'll just give a bit of time for them to roll in. All right, so I guess we can get started while a few more people roll in. So let's start with introductions first. So my name's Tristan. I work at the marketing for Entangle, and today I'm joined by two special guests who I'll let themselves introduce. So maybe Basil, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi. Thank you for such a great turnout once again, and happy to see so many familiar faces in the crowd from the Entangle community. So I'm the founder, I'm Faisal, and very, very glad to be here. Thank you, Tristan, for setting this up.
My pleasure. Maybe DDS, you want to give an intro to those who don't know you yet, unsurprisingly, or surprisingly, actually.
Hey everyone, I'm sure you all know me, especially since I've been doing the secret word task for the past 3 days, including today. You all know I love coffee. I'm in charge of all the events you see going on. Of course, I'm supported by everyone in the team and the mods. You have the Discord wars, you have the Zeely campaign, you have the Galaxy campaign, Rep 3, and of course, the new secret word tasks. These will be continuing. So, yeah, I'm the coffee addict from the Entangle team.
It looks like we're getting a lot of DDSs in the chat, so I guess they must be loving the secret word task or your coffee addiction. I'm not too sure which one it is yet. But anyways, I guess we can get started with what we'll be talking about today. So in case you're new here, these AMAs will take place on a weekly basis, and leading up to the Webverse launch, which is our special NFT campaign, we might actually be doing ones even more frequently, especially if there's some special task involved. And everyone's favorite games, which we'll get to shortly. And we'll be answering all the curious questions you might have about the Webverse, but I can't guarantee anything because there are still some very important secrets which cannot be revealed just yet. So maybe Faisal, I'll let you give a quick intro into what we're doing at Entangle, just for those who are here, since I'm sure there's a couple new people in the crowd, especially from the Webverse.
Yeah, thank you, Tristan. So yeah, well, Entangle at the base is a completely customizable and interoperable data infrastructure layer, which really looks to unite existing Web3 ecosystems and allow the transmission of data across various different blockchains, both EVM and non-EVM. Entangle does a lot more than that, and I can obviously talk about some of the more detailed attributes. But what it really does is it sort of, from one integration, allows communications to multiple different protocols. Currently, as we know, blockchain is fragmented, lots of different blockchains, lots of different land plots, real estate areas or countries, for example, Ethereum, Solana, etc. And there's a lot of barriers of liquidity and communication, and Entangle resolves this through its infrastructure, allowing interoperability between these different blockchains and data and transmission of data. Entangle also has its own native applications, which are focused on optimizing liquidity. So through the use of liquid stake derivatives, we can not only resolve cross-chain communication, but we also look to resolve intra-chain issues and allow applications and dApps to share liquidity vis-a-vis our first native application called Liquid Vaults. Today's AMA will be more about how Entangled's infrastructure and tooling can be applied to the GameFi ecosystem and how we can supplement and enhance existing games and tournament systems and those types of GameFi areas using the Entangle infrastructure.
Thanks for that intro, and I'm sure we'll get to more of the actual use cases because it might not seem fully clear what this infrastructure can really do, but we've got some really cool examples lined up and I'm very excited to share them. Because I think one of the greatest things about crypto is that it has the ability to allow and facilitate use cases, which are very pivotal in how we actually see finance and applications moving forward. And the reason we wanted to talk about gaming today was it's a stellar use case and a perfect fit for crypto. Because as one of the largest entertainment industries, and it's actually bigger than some of the largest entities combined, and it's still rapidly growing, gaming becomes the perfect fit for Web3 due to its in-game purchasing and microeconomies that you'll typically see to allow you to maybe get better skins or to enhance your gameplay. And now users can actually own these assets which they're buying in game like they never have before, allowing them to have real power when deciding to purchase due to the marketability of them. So for example, you might buy a skin on Fortnite, but in Fortnite, you can't actually go and resell that skin. And so there's no real peer-to-peer or player-to-player economy. And that's something Web3 is really trying to open up. And at Entangle, this is why we're actually so excited for all of these things to unlock with gaming, as we're all either big gamers ourselves or previous gamers in recent years. And we think this is a really special place for gaming to thrive in Web3. And we're looking super forward to building the infrastructure to enable it. So I know Faisal's done some very interesting research over the past few days and the past week. So maybe you'd like to give a few points on what you've actually been researching into and how our infrastructure could help this.
Yeah, so Entangle really, firstly, on the infrastructure layer, really differentiates itself through the customizability. So in order for some of the audience that probably are not very technical, but in order for data to move from A to B, you need data carriers. In our case, they're called Entangle agents. And really, the magic of Entangle is how we've allowed these agents combined with our blockchain, combined with our nexus of smart contracts across every chain and smart contracts hosted on the Entangle blockchain to really create a system which allows a developer, a game developer in particular, in this case, to open up a number of different use cases. If you have a game that's running multiple instances on different blockchains, rather than dealing with them individually, how do you create a central point of communication where an event happens and that can be triggered across multiple chains and instances? So really, I think we can start and take a step back. So I just thought I'd give a warm up into Entangle. There's a lot of smart contracts. There's a lot of customizability. And there's different machines that are involved in terms of agents that can be programmed. There's the blockchain. There's the validators that secure the information on the Entangle blockchain. But I think GameFi as a sector is rapidly evolving. And previously we discussed real world assets and how important it is for any issuer or for any game developer, for example, in this particular case, to not be confined to only one chain. There's rapid investment, there's massive investment and growth in this area. Games are improving really drastically. I've seen massive improvements in gameplay. I've tested the likes of Shrapnel and and a few other games recently, and it looks like it's really taking a turn. And with recently, with I think there's rumors around Grand Theft Auto, etc. I think knowing that especially the up and coming younger members of the populations are really enthusiastic about gaming and also enthusiastic about crypto, it's a very natural fit to have digital currency solutions, P2P layers over gaming itself. And I think really currently there's limits in terms of infrastructure, especially with interoperability, with many games operating in silo. And this leads to, again, fragmentation of the GameFi ecosystem, limiting builders, limiting, transferability of NFTs, not allowing dynamic NFTs, for example. And we foresee that achieving greater interoperability in GameFi would enable seamless asset transfers and gameplay experiences across various platforms. And a cohesive and an enriched gaming experience of players leads to higher retention. Competition really is what keeps gamers retained, and that can only be bettered if your population of game players is always expanding. So if you're limited and confined to one chain, or your NFTs are confined to one chain, you're not taking the advantage of having that interoperability and expanding your game to various audiences, which would then lead to greater competition, greater types of competition, mechanics that game developers then can improve. Game developers need more players for feedback so they can improve the game. Constant machine learning is applied, I guess, in some scenarios. But if it's not, then at least you're getting feedback from your players, and you can create more maps, etc. So really, what we foresee is Entangle's really at the first base level is interoperability. So what we can do is, from one deployment of a contract, assume a blockchain game is deployed on multiple blockchains. For example, a strategy game where the game has high socio-political dimension to it. And, for example, a big event has happened on chain one, the game's on multiple chains, and there's a declaration of war, or somebody's conquered a land plot, for example. You want to send that message to other blockchains where the game is also deployed on to synchronize the states and update the gameplay. Another example, games could benefit from interoperability is having their tokens deployed across multiple blockchains. So with Entangle's Photon messaging layer, which essentially is blockchain states available and interoperability between different blockchains and messaging, they can simply create bridges for their ERC20 tokens and NFTs. For example, lock and mint or burn and mint bridges, which obviously is great because you have higher degree of transferability and value. We also have data feeds. So Entangle, as I've not described earlier, but also we have an Oracle data feed running on our infrastructure. So with Entangle, really any developer can really create customized data feeds in order to deliver reliable, secure, authenticated on-chain price feeds or data feeds, which are stored from a backend or from an API of some sort. So, for example, you have games that are running off-chain. They want to update their NFTs. They want to distribute rewards. Somebody's winning match or tournament, and they want to get this data on-chain. This is available through the Entangle infrastructure. There may be some on-chain games that depend on dynamic real-world data. So, for example, a strategy game and the outcome of for example, a political event, such as an election, might have an impact on the logic of the game or reward attainment. This is something that we can deliver through our data Oracle solution. So, and again, another example is NFTs, the cross-chain lending and borrowing of NFTs. So if I give you a user flow, so a lender has an NFT on chain A, the user deposits the USDC collateral on chain B to borrow this NFT, and then they can receive the NFT on chain A. So that is the type of environment that Entangle creates. And this is just the very beginning. We are actually developing additional solutions that could really take this even further degrees forward. But we feel that with this type of capability, with data feeds, interoperability, mint and burn, lock and burn bridges, we can really allow a wider audience for participating in NFTs, renting, lending, borrowing NFTs, updating gameplay from one chain. Multiple states across different blockchains can be updated with the smart contract capability and the Entangle agents as part of the infrastructure. So I hope, Tristan, that gives yourself and of course our community and everyone who's attended today a flavor of how Entangle envisages its entry into the GameFi infrastructure arena.
That was definitely a little bit more than a high level. I would probably like to put it as a comprehensive answer. I saw some excitement in the chat for GTA 6 and even some people calling for an Entangle partnership with GTA 6, which I myself would be a big fan of. And if you see me going missing in the coming weeks and GTA 6 actually comes out, there might be some clues there because I'm quite the gamer myself, but hopefully in the name of Entangle, I don't disappear just yet. So maybe I want to ask the chat, who's familiar with the game Illuvium? Because maybe I could give a use case example on how we actually could benefit Illuvium, since it's one of the longest crypto games and they've been developing for quite a few years, I believe. All right, so it looks like we have a few people who know what it is. All right, so if you don't know what Illuvium is, it's a pioneering blockchain game combining open world exploration, city building, and auto battler elements on the Ethereum blockchain. So in a sci-fi adventure, you can explore alien worlds, capturing and training over 150 unique alluvials to form a strategic arena and teams. So this game emphasizes true player ownership of assets, with all the items stored in wallets, and this is enabled for trading on the Illuvium Dex marketplace. And what they're actually doing is developing an arena mode, focusing on polishing the game, implementing PvP mechanics, and integrating the final characters known as alluvials, which I believe can be NFTs as well. So the game is advancing towards a really seamless online experience where multiple game modes, including PvP battles or quality of life improvements, features like player stack codes, locker storage, and reconnection. The handling and reconnection handling are being integrated to enhance gameplay. So, what the use case we could entangle would be to leverage the automated start and stop in-app activities, and Illuvium could enable the game to automatically launch seasonal tournaments. So, for instance, when a new is introduced, the game could automatically start a special event where players compete using new characters. So, similarly, during holidays or game anniversaries, the system could trigger unique tournaments offering exclusive rewards or challenges. And this implementation would greatly enhance the player experience in Illuvium by providing timely, thematic, competitive events that keep the game fresh and exciting. Because I'm sure you've all had a favorite game that gets a bit boring after the 12th time you've played it because there's just no new things coming into the actual game that's exciting or different. And so this implementation makes it exciting because seasonal tournaments would encourage regular gameplay and engagement, like I just mentioned. And this automated approach ensures that the game remains dynamic with events that reflect the evolving nature of the game and community. So that's probably one of the best ways we could actually help Illuvium grow cross-chain and also create some new and dynamic events for the game itself. Maybe Faisal, did you have any games on your agenda that you've been looking into that Entangle could help out with?
Yeah, I looked at Gods Unchained. Not sure if anyone has heard of that or played Gods Unchained. But it's a blockchain-based strategic trading card game, allowing players to collect, trade, and battle with unique digital cards. And the game emphasizes skill and strategy in gameplay, with players owning their digital cards as NFTs, which can be traded or sold. Gods Unchained also includes a Gods token integral to the ecosystem, and it's used for purchasing card packs and participating in governance. And so the use case really is providing, firstly, cross-chain availability to the game. So by implementing our cross-chain messaging solution, Gods Unchained could really expand beyond Ethereum to other networks like Binance Smart Chain or Polygon. And this move would seamlessly allow trading, battles and gameplay on multiple blockchains, attracting new players and retaining existing ones. And by leveraging the unique strengths of different blockchains, such as lower fees, faster transactions, the game is then ready to adapt to different evolving blockchain landscapes. So, for example, if they notice that there's really low gas fees on a chain, they could incentivize those players more or they're noticing a sudden expansion of adoption for one chain, then they could potentially create campaigns to retain users on that blockchain. So really, it's what it allows is a exploration of multiple different networks and access to a larger gameplay or gamer population, essentially. So I think dynamic cards with interoperable dynamic NFTs. So incorporating dynamic NFTs into Gods Unchained, a card like Blazing Talisman, for example, could be transformed into a dynamic NFT. Imagine this card evolving its visual appearance and abilities based on the player's achievements. So, for example, if a player successfully uses Blazing Talisman in a winning strategy for several matches, the card could visually upgrade to a golden Blazing Talisman with enhanced artwork and augmented in-game effects like increased damage or added special abilities. So the introduction of dynamic NFTs, with a card like Blazing Talisman, significantly boosts player engagement as players strive to evolve their cards through skilled gameplay. Not only personalizes the gaming experience, but also enhances the card's value, both as a game asset and a collectible item. The evolving sort of nature of Blazing Talisman keeps the gameplay dynamic and varied. So as players continuously adapt to new abilities and strategies, emerging from these dynamic NFTs. So this feature also turns the static nature of traditional digital cards into an evolving journey, deepening player investment in the game and of course their collections. So I think another use case could be sort of, I think for Illuvium is the rarity stuff. Tristan, maybe did you mention that, or have you covered that? I may have missed it, but that's my sort of take on the Gods Unchained.
Yeah, I don't know if I did cover that in Illuvium. I was more so looking at the way the NFTs can actually interact themselves. But I'm sure, like you mentioned with the Goals Unchained version, how you can play several games in a row, and then that could be a winning card you use, and it does upgrade to a gold item. That would make it much more valuable on a marketplace because it actually shows the progression that it's received. And maybe another area which is really exciting is the first person shooter sector, since I think in normal gaming or Web2 gaming, it's one of the biggest industries, and it often has a lot of skins which are highly valued. I'm not sure if many of you play CS:GO or have seen CS:GO, but I believe even up to this date, it's still extremely valuable with their skins, and I'm pretty sure they're at all-time highs as we speak, or we're close to it. And some of these skins go for hundreds of thousands, and probably rival CryptoPunk's valuation as well. And I did mention you mentioned Shrapnel earlier on, Faisal. Was that something else that you've taken a look into?
Yeah, Shrapnel was actually believe it or not, a friend of mine knows the sort of studio behind Shrapnel. So I've actually been following Shrapnel for a while. I was advising a project that was looking for first-person shooter games. So I think they've done a wonderful job coming on to Web3. And really, it's a AAA first-person shooter, and it's kind of really reminiscent of the game Escape from Tarkov. I'm not sure if anyone's played that, but I've had a few goes there. And it's just offering a very robust, fluid shooting movement and sort of looting experience environment. And it really just focuses on engaging immersive gameplay. And I'm pretty sort of confident Shrapnel is really going to do very well because they've actually brought a user base with them over to Web3. So I think the cross-chain availability of the Shrapnel token is something that the Entangle infrastructure could very much offer. So imagine a gamer who's an avid player of Shrapnel and also engages in other blockchain-based games on different networks. And a gamer holds the Shrap token, the in-game currency of Shrapnel, on Avalanche. So with the introduction of cross-chain functionality for Shrap tokens, a gamer can now seamlessly transfer his tokens to other blockchains like Binance Smart Chain or Polygon. And when this transfer is done through a user-friendly interface within the game or a connected wallet, where a gamer can burn his Shrap tokens on Avalanche and receive through minting an equivalent amount on another chain. This process broadens a gamer's ability, as you know, to use his Shrapnel tokens or Shrap tokens beyond the Avalanche ecosystem, allowing him to engage in transactions or investments on different blockchains, where he might find better transaction speeds or lower fees. And this will then lead to naturally increased liquidity and accessibility. So by allowing Shrapnel tokens to be available on multiple blockchains, players and investors gain more avenues to acquire and trade these tokens. And this increased liquidity makes Shrapnel more attractive as a digital asset, potentially, of course, raising its value and demand. Broader user-based engagement, so engaging more broadly and allowing the user to move the liquidity essentially. And it's not really that different from liquid vaults. And we are looking at potentially, using our LSD infrastructure to take this 1 or 2 degrees further. We're still in research and development. We are sort of also looking at not just games themselves, but gaming tournaments, gaming wagering, PvP wagering. We have partnered with a very interesting protocol that's up and coming, where they are doing viewer wagering, player betting, and we're looking to facilitate that with our Oracle infrastructure. So that partnership, just a bit of alpha here for the community, will be announced very soon. And that project is very much ahead in development. It's live. So and we're looking forward to really exploring how we could, allow their instances on multiple blockchains to interact within their completely competitive environment. I do think competition is the way forward for GameFi. So if your game has, tournaments, it has rewards, risks involved where people have to put down money. I'm kind of sort of really not very much buying into infinite liquidity being printed through tokens constantly. I feel there needs to be an engagement of third parties through sponsorships. There has to be tournaments and wagering essentially, or people, watching an esports game being played and where viewers can speculate on their chosen players. And that is the type of thing that we're looking to also help alongside looking at partnering with games and bringing these types of use cases. And another one for Shrapnel, I presume, is sort of automated in-game asset events based on player achievement. So for example, Shrapnel could launch special events on or unlock unique in-game assets like weapons or cosmetics when players achieve specific milestones. And then, for example, completing a challenging campaign or reaching a high rank in multiplayer mode could automatically trigger special rewards or unlock exclusive content. And this automation adds a layer of achievement based progression, enhancing player engagement, fostering a much more dynamic and rewarding gaming environment where players are motivated to reach new milestones for unique rewards. And these automated events also create a sense of community as players collectively strive for these achievements. And that's another thing that we can foster with this tech, right? So I guess having good friends in the gaming world is very important. It's an activity that people do. So if your friends are based on different chains and or different blockchains, etc., we're looking at this as how do we improve the connections between gamers despite whatever chain they're on, or even within the gameplay and these event like triggers, using our sort of transmission system to ensure that games can allow these kind of environments where they foster and improve these connections between players, and they have a much more, I guess, improve their sense of belonging and that family-like environment that you look for when you're really involved with gaming. I guess another use case could be a dynamic marketplace, events based on trading activity. So Shrapnel could use automated systems to create dynamic marketplace events like limited time offers or special auctions. And these are triggered by player trading activities. For instance, a surge in trading a particular type of in-game asset could automatically initiate a special event offering related items or discounts. And this approach keeps the in-game economy lively and reactive to player activities. It enhances the trading experience, making the marketplace an engaging aspect of the game. And players would find a constantly evolving market more encouraging for them to stay active and engaged in both the gameplay and the in-game economy. So just to summarize, of course, I've given a number of use cases. Tristan, you obviously went through Illuvium. I went through Gods Unchained and Shrapnel, which is actually a game I really think is great. And also, I've covered the infrastructure side of stuff and the competitive environment, the esports aspects. We're speaking to the project that I mentioned in terms of ad tech, so ad tech providers, and how we can integrate some of that into the infrastructure that we've built across the gaming ecosystem. And as we see as a really progressive industry, GameFi itself, we're looking forward to being at the epicenter of infrastructure here.
That was a really great comprehensive review of how we can actually work with all of these games and really bring them some exciting benefits. Now, I think that probably should cover enough use cases, and I'm sure the community would like to hear from DDS on all the exciting campaigns he's been planning, especially leading up to our Webverse and also Entangle launch.
Hello, everyone. Well, yes, let's get started. First of all, I know you all like the secret word tasks. Don't worry, there will be more. I know a lot of you are asking for more hints, but I've given a lot of hints. A few people have already gotten it. And leading up to the mint, I'll try and make a secret word task available every single day. But remember, these are limited time events. If you're online, if you're there, you can take part, but they will end at any time. They can end if a lot of people get the word, or they can end after a specific time period. Think of them as random encounters. When you play JRPGs, or you just walking through and suddenly you have these random encounters. Think of them like this. So, other than the secret word, we have the Road to Mainnet campaign. It's on Galaxy. If you haven't seen it, it's a 2-month campaign. You will have multiple tasks. The AMA task, obviously, you all know that you will all go and claim the oath. Then you'll have quizzes. They can come anytime. The activity-based tasks in which you have to stay active in general and talk for a specific amount of days continuously, not skipping one day. We will reward those who are loyal and who are the most bullish whoever wants it the most will get the prize. Then you'll have the testnet tasks. Now, the testnet task, I know you have all been waiting for them, but we had a little problem with the Discord bot. Apparently, a lot of people wanted to try the testnet, and the bot said, "I need a break." We're fixing it. As soon as it's done, the testnet tasks will be online on both Galaxy and Rep 3. Speaking of Rep 3, the the next season of Entangle Elite has already started. If you all, those of you who've been here since Entangle Elite started, know that we don't have a break between each season of Entangle Elite. So when 1st of December came, the season already started. There will be more events. There will be a testnet campaign on Rep 3 as well. But we had a problem when we were trying to figure out how best to reward the newcomers, people who keep routinely topping the charts, who are at the top. How would the newcomers manage to get prizes if they weren't there from the start? Well, we will be measuring progression on a monthly basis. So let's say in this the last snapshot, you had people at tier 7 and at tier 4 on Twitter and Discord. The amount of points you've made since the last snapshot and the next snapshot, those will be considered. So it won't be the total number of points, it'll be the amount of points you manage to get between the two snapshots. That should allow anyone who's coming in, even if you come in right now and you start the tasks right now, you will have a good chance. But that does not mean we've basically left out the loyal people, the ones who've been doing this from the start. The higher tiers are harder to get, but they have higher points as well. So if you stick at, if you keep at it, if you stick to it, you might have a chance to win again. Now, other than Rep 3, we also have the Zeely Christmas campaign. You've probably gone and checked. The Zeely is where, by the way, the secret word task is happening. I noticed if, one of the members thought the secret word task was letting me know in general. He almost gave the word away before he realized the task was on Zeely. The Xmas campaign is on Zeely. You can go take part. Some of them are time based events, as in they'll open up later. They aren't available right now. The secret word task is part of that campaign. So there will be probably more tasks coming in Zeely. You have to keep an eye on the new task channel. You have to keep checking these channels. Other than this, you might possibly see some new ways, some new things coming in the Discord that should give you additional ways to earn the whitelist. Now, all of these things that are happening, why are they happening at the same time? It looks like things are heating up. What could that possibly mean? Christian?
Yes, there is definitely some things heating up, and I would be keeping an eye on the webverse over the coming week, as there's going to be a lot of things which will make sense in in the following week after that as well. So I can't give too many details, but I'm definitely interested to see what people think of the lore so far. Have you picked up anything secret within the webverse? Let me know, because that's what we're here to really talk about alongside gaming. And maybe to give one hint, that every post we've done in Webverse, whilst it might be quite intricate in the way we've worded it, there's a very specific reason for that, and we're very excited for the coming weeks to reveal why we've actually spoke about and designed the lore in this way. Okay, so maybe while we wait for some questions to come in for the Webverse, would everyone like to start today's riddle? So if you haven't seen, or if you haven't attended our AMAs, at the end we like to do a riddle, and for the person who solves this riddle, you get a special prize. And the answer to this riddle can be found in one of our recent articles from the prior week. So make sure you listen closely, as the chat's about to move like fire in a gust of wind. and you'll need to be very quick to make sure you get this one. Okay, so listen closely. I'm gained through trials, wins, and fails. In the game of life, I leave my trails. I level you up with each setback and chance. In your adventure, I enhance. Whether high scores or moments low, I'm what you collect as you grow. What am I in this quest for life? A gamer's progress put to the test. Haven't seen it yet. Maybe DDS, you can help me with this one because the chat's going to move very fast.
So yeah, one person already got it.
Yep. T2.
Absar Azim. I think he's the
Who was
first one.
first? So I did see one as well.
It's this
Oh,
one.
no. T2 was first.
T2?
Yeah,
Yes,
that was
yes.
experience.
Yeah, it's T2.
Okay. So I think maybe we can give you an agent NFT whitelist, which is one of our very special NFTs. And this is going to have some extra cool utility, which I believe has been revealed already in our What is the Webverse article. Now, maybe to give another hint, let me just check my folder. I can probably give a teaser for the revenue models that you can earn from the NFTs, depending on how much revenue Entangle actually makes. So have a look in the chat right now, and I'll post a teaser. So as you can see from this graphic, there's 5 different models, and depending on these different models is how much revenue your NFT could actually earn. And we'll actually be writing an article and giving some more details about this in the coming days. But I thought it might be cool to drop a special teaser for what these numbers will actually be. And you see on the upper end in model 3, 4, and 5 that this can actually cross over $1,000 per year, depending on what Entangle is bringing in terms of TVL, cross-chain messages, the price feeds being live. So there's a lot of utility which is actually going to come from these NFTs. Maybe Faisal, what's your thoughts on the NFTs, since this is a little bit out of your area and you've probably been in DeFi for quite a few years now?
Yeah, I think it's the very first of its kind. I think the way Entangle has thought about revenue and the amount of time we've spent on revenue, it's really a very significant vector or pillar of our delivery from the technical side and just from a business perspective. You know, many Web3 protocols launched, they're not profitable, but we're very fortunate to have 12 connected blockchains, still a couple of more blockchains to be integrated before mainnet. These are real partnerships. We've got multiple dApps that are connecting to either our Oracle or our cross-chain messaging. We're now talking to some real-world asset applications to bring Web2 data to Web3 and Web2 assets to Web3. So if you look at sort of in the internet before it was united as the internet, there were just small little internets everywhere. So TCP/IP was like a layer that allowed computers to communicate and to sort of build this internet layer. And of course, Web3 is built on top of the internet, but it's still fragmented. So it's still blocks of different blockchains and different languages and different, you know, trying to do something different. And liquidity is also a zero-sum game. So, you know, the protocols need liquidity. We're dealing with liquidity critically with liquid vaults, which allows it to be united and optimized. And we've got a lot of partners already signed up on testnet and many lending and borrowing solutions that are linking up to us, options protocols. And then it's our infrastructure, which really is like the TCP/IP of Web3, which has a smart contract nexus, like a web of smart contracts connected to every blockchain, talking to each other, utilizing data feeds. And our data feeds are also verifiable and authenticated on the Entangle blockchain. And then you have our custom agents, our keepers, which can be customized to a standardized software, or they can be customized to additional software. So if you're a developer, you require different types of software programming to be running on our keepers that can be added, or keepers can elect to have upgradable software programs to go and fetch different types of data, compute different types of logic. You can set the consensus rates. You can choose 10 keepers. You can add your own keepers. So really, we've built this only to kind of bind Web 2 and 3, and then on the back end, have a single point of integration into all of Web 3, EVM, non-EVM. And I think in the time that we've been building for 18 months, we've amassed over 60 partnerships. These are going to be revenue oriented. And one of the key things is with liquid vaults, for example, we're dealing with idle assets. So there's a lot of demand for people with LPs that want to re-energize the yield. And that can happen through Entangle in a non-custodial way. So we've built it where we don't ask anyone to. It's like a very basic example I give you is, and Tristan and me were talking about this earlier, was if I was to sell something to Tristan and ask him for his money, if I knocked his door cold and said, I'm selling you this, often we shut the door on people when they cold call. But if I said, you have, I don't know, you have your car, if you give it to me, I'll produce 2 cars for you, and I'll do it with the car in your possession. Or I'll give you more of a second car, or I'll give you money that you can buy a second car, but this remains in your possession. And we're going to sort of create this synthetic, we utilize it without going through the detail to the consumer. Really, it's much easier to deal with existing assets that people are earning yield from and think, oh, well, I'm earning yield. I can earn more yield, or I can do more with my assets. So Entangle really has a 360 thought, not only from an infrastructure perspective, from a business perspective. We see things as ultimately DeFi is very complicated, but at the top, it's a business. It's buying and selling assets, is borrowing an asset for interest, or just the way you trade fruit or you trade cars or whatever it may be. So really, we kind of simplify the business from various different backgrounds that we're from to look at things from a very business driven perspective, and we apply that to very complicated constructs under the bonnet, which obviously our fantastic tech team takes care of. And what we've really built in V3 is far superior to a lot of our competitors, far more customizable, a lot more you can do with this system. Really thinks about security, authentication, and long term, not just something to build, shill, and evaporate. Really, we're thinking about this really from a very, very long term perspective. So if you're combining all of the revenue from the underlying sources, and that some of that is being attributed to holders of non-fungible tokens, the Entangle holders, then that is something that's not been quite done before. I'm genuinely, I don't know of any project that's done that successfully and really already on testnet delivered all these products, and then having a linkage with NFTs and bringing in a different community of people who can now have exposure to all of DeFi, all of revenue, multiple different dexes. We're doing some wonderful work with Mantle. We've got a couple of really big partnerships that we're going to announce very soon, and some we've announced already. We've had the likes of Arbitrum tweet us from their main account, Linear. We've got some great partners that are really seeing the value that we're going to bring. And if you're associated with that, and we've thought about this from a go-to-market also perspective, that there is a very wide audience. If you're an NFT, enthusiast, then how do we bridge this gap? Because we can't have even fragmentation between the NFT world and the DeFi world, or the infrastructure, or the GameFi infrastructure world. How do we bind this all together and unite communities and unite Web3 and Webverse it says it on the tin. It's weaving the web, all of it together, and allowing people to partake in revenue and also really be part of something very special. So I hope that's given much more of a insight into what we're doing here at Webverse and Entangle combined.
It certainly did. And I liked how you really focused on the revenue aspect of Entangle since due to crypto's, I guess, tokenomics, there hasn't been the biggest focus on applications or actually securing revenue from applications or even just infrastructure in general. And an interesting question I did see from a community member was how are we planning to deal with inflation? Because I know that's been one of the biggest issues in crypto's short time frame in trying to actually gain mass adoption.
So we are a revenue-backed emissions protocol. There may be at the stage at the beginning where there's some emissions from the Entangle, token supply, but we have, if there are any inflation, the equivalent amount of tokens will always be burned, so the supply will be constant. And we're just very revenue driven. We're not going to sort of be in a space for 18 months, almost 20 months now, if you include the early stages of research and development, to not build something profitable. Most projects are really focused on the token and pump out the token, and then where is the underlying value? Just the way that we are creating liquid stake derivatives from underlying yield assets, we see that behind our token, underneath the token, should be a profitable machinery that delivers revenue, which is infused within the token and then distributed to our stakers, be it the validators or be it the keeper stakers. And this is the first time you're going to have completely programmable data agent keepers that can go out and collect data from any source, can be upgraded in their programmability, can have custom software, can have the standard Entangle program within them. Really, we've thought about inflation, and the only way to cure inflation is to actually generate yield, real yield. So that's how we're looking at it. And we've spent, I'm very much actually looking forward to maybe doing a podcast or some kind of session, Tristan, with Austin and the rest of the guys that have been working with us on the revenue side. And we can really showcase what revenue actually looks like and how long it actually takes to think about how you generate money from nexus of smart contracts and essentially machinery that's delivering messages. So very much looking forward to doing that. And if anyone's got any questions on this or anybody wants to learn more, please just don't hesitate to reach out to the team.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely do a podcast in the near future because I've actually seen the machinations designs myself, and I was actually building a game or working alongside a couple games back in the bull run and had a lot of experience with this. And I think it's really cool to see a DeFi protocol like Entangle taking a leaf out of gaming's book and using some of their modeling mechanics that they use because at the end of the day, DeFi is actually very similar to gaming, but the game itself is almost like a really cool front end experience that you can play a version of DeFi in. Say you might have a farming game and you sell your corn that you've been growing in your crop, but that could almost equate to, say, farming in a liquidity pool on DeFi, but it just has a different experience. So I'm really excited to see how all of that progresses. And I did see a question in the chat saying, will Entangle build its own game? Or what is maybe Entangle planning to build in the future if it's not?
Well, one very interesting idea that I had was, I'm not sure I should share it because it's very early in my mind and I've been discussing it the last couple of days with a couple of the lead developers. But it's potentially like a yield lottery DApp idea where, we have all these LSDs of LPs, and you can lock your LSD for a month and the reward go into a pool, and every day you can get a winner. So that is something that we're looking at doing. And in the meantime, you get rewarded for your participation. So everyone's a winner, but you can get significant prize pool payout on a daily basis, and you can choose to unlock after a while, or you can choose a set period. So it just shows how we're gamifying DeFi and how we're thinking of this, because at the end of the day, at the base nature of crypto, it's quite a speculative space. I mean, if I woke my granddad up from the grave, for example, and said people are buying frogs that they can't touch or they can't see, and the frog's name is Pepe, he'd probably say, "Put me back in the grave. I don't want to be part of this world." So really, the way I see it is like it's really the fundamental nature of the space is quite speculative, and what we're looking to do, and what I see a lot is people engaging in really high level speculative trading. And that to me is hazardous, especially if you haven't spent years analyzing the market, and you can go down you can lose a lot very quickly, and it's not for everybody, and the risk and everything that comes with it and all the stress. So we are looking at an environment where, there's always going to be traders, and there's always going to be DeFi, and there's always going to be liquidity. How do we create systems, protocols, dApps with this, like almost a blank canvas of art, which is connecting all these different blockchains and dApps? How do we allow this to really accentuate into something very profitable? And that's at the forefront of my mind. I'm constantly thinking of that, and then I derive those ideas and bring it to the development team, and then we are cooking up some interesting stuff. We're looking at building a leverage yield farming protocol where you can take advantage of underlying LP assets and leverage them, and also some other very exciting use cases which I don't really want to discuss at the moment because they are sort of early stages and high alpha, which of course this space is, there's only certain times you can announce certain things, but we are working on various different use cases. And more importantly, we have Liquid Vaults, which is currently connected to 14, I believe, or 13 dexes. We have incoming partners for the usage of the LSDs. We are building our own use cases for the LSDs. And then we have an Oracle system, a Web 2 to Web 3, intra Web 3 system. We're optimizing liquidity within chain. So there's only so much that you can do as well. So we ideate, we have a great team. Slava is, he's a professional pianist, he's a musician by nature. So he's very creative. I'm sort of revenue focused, but I do get creative sometimes. And I feel that we have the right combination, but when you're executing a project, it's all about your roadmap and your deliverables, and you can't just willy-nilly go up to your tech team and say, "Oh, can you do this?" You have to put systems and processes in place, and there's a time and place to build, develop, execute the next stage. And then there's so many other considerations in terms of security, custody of funds, audit. There are almost, many variables that you have to think about before you even launch a new project. Does it have a valid business use case? We have a great business development team that does study and research on whether there's a use case for this, whether we can, go out to market with this, not just launch a product for the sake of it and then sell the token. And then after a bit, the token goes down. Those who buy at the end, right at the end, are held holding bags, and there's no continuous development. Because when you're continually developing and you're building revenue oriented products, and you've got an infrastructure that essentially is a revenue generator, irrespective of market conditions, you're still making revenue. And I see the world heading in that direction. I think when things go slightly economically wrong, which always happens within a period of time, every 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, there's always a downturn. At those periods, whether you're an investor, whether you're a token holder, whether you're just an enthusiast, people start to look towards, okay, where can I at least earn some passive income, that could cover certain costs of mine? Or if you're an investor, you tend to look for profitable businesses. I advised in sort of private equity before that area, mergers and acquisitions. I've sort of touched base with it a little bit in my career as well. And it's always the revenue generating business always wins. So, and I think the true winners of the Web3 race will be those that have really thought about revenue within the DNA of the construct of what you're building. So every execution that we are delivering, the end state of that is revenue. So, and even from a marketing or a business development perspective, never mind tech. You know me, Tristan, I can go into my monologues for the next 4 days. So I think that's a good time to sort of take a breather and at least give the community a real flavor of how we see the world and what we're doing at Entangle and why we're preparing for every type of environment. Whether it's a bull market, fantastic, great. We don't control those conditions. We don't control the weather. However, we need to build shelters for when it's raining, and we need to build, patios and nice, environments outside with a table and some chairs with one of those umbrella kind of furniture pieces, so we can enjoy the sun. And we just want to make sure that we're ready for every environment, and ensure that our community and those, whether you're part of the community first or later or whatever, it's a very fair and even playground for everyone to be involved in something that's very unique and very revenue centric.
Definitely. And I think maybe just to further elaborate on the whole revenue narrative, I saw a question on the agent NFTs, which will be 300 supply, and they will be quite rare. And the question was, how does the revenue aspect of them work? So I saw a question talking about if there's $100,000 and there's 8% APY, what does that mean? So what this means is, Faisal, maybe do you want to take this?
No, Tristan, you can take it, and if you miss anything, I'll just cover you. No issues.
Okay, cool. So what this means is if there's $100,000 in stake tokens and the keepers are earning 8% APY on that, you would be earning $8,000 a year in revenue, and Entangle would be the ones who are staking these tokens. So that means you don't have to put these tokens up front. So there's nothing out of your pocket. There's nothing sitting there which can't be moved by yourself. This is purely from our team, and all the revenue you receive from that $100,000 from the 8% would be all yours to take, and we're not taking any fees on that. So did I miss anything there?
Yeah, so no, you didn't. But just at a very high level, Entangle's got multiple different revenue streams, as I've mentioned: the Oracle, the cross-chain messaging. We have the liquid vaults. This goes into a revenue schema. We obviously have validators, keepers, and then we have Entangle ecosystem, and the NFT revenue will be shared a percentage to NFT holders. And the agent NFTs are the ones that are able to run keepers, and those will be facilitated and delegated to with Entangle tokens for a set period of time. And that is just some supplemental information to what Tristan's just said. So yeah, I hope that answers the question combined with mine and Tristan's response.
It seems like they're quite interested. I did see another question saying, does this include validators? No. So the NGL staked by validators also get APY, also get agent APY?
No, just the agents will get agents. The validators they are a different type of stakeholder in the ecosystem, and they're not with the NFTs relate to the keepers of the Entangle infrastructure, the agent keepers.
Okay, great. I think we may need to start to wrap up here as it's getting a little bit over time, and unfortunately, we do have to get back to building out the webverse and Entangle to make sure that these NFTs are a massive success, because it's not an easy feat trying to link extremely complex DeFi protocols with extremely complex NFTs. But it's the reason we can wake up and work 12-hour days, because it's so exciting to build things like this, which are so creative, and it really stands out in DeFi and crypto in general. So I don't see any more final questions. So I'd like to thank DDS and Faisal for joining today, and also the community, as this was a really great AMA. And I had a lot of fun discussing all of the gaming infrastructure and different use cases we can actually allow, plus all the interesting stuff about the webverse and how the revenue models work.
Yeah, thank you, Tristan. Thank you, DDS. And thank you for all those who've stayed behind, listened. I hope there's been some valuable lessons gained. Please get in touch with the Entangle team if you've got something you want to contribute. We're open to always listening to new ideas and those that want to help us get involved on the journey. So thanks again, and look forward to speaking to you very soon.
Thank you, everyone. I will see you guys tomorrow for the possibly another secret word task.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you on next week's AMA. All right. Bye bye.